In a world where the winds of international politics blow fiercely and the rise of the Babylonian Empire instills pride and brutality, causing great oppression amongst surrounding nations, God's people find themselves in a similar predicament. Yet, in the face of this adversity, the hand of God seems delayed. This was the context in which Habakkuk, a prophet of southern Judah, questioned God, seeking an explanation for the seemingly absent divine intervention. The divine message delivered through the prophet was, even in such circumstances, the righteous shall live by faith. The statement, the righteous shall live by faith, is not a mere slogan. It's a guiding principle for the Israelites to navigate future difficulties and navigate through disasters. It means living by faith, serving as a guidepost for the life of believers. One might ask, if a believer cannot live by faith, then on what else should they rely? The answers are manifold. Some rely on wealth, some on ability, some on beauty. From a psychological perspective, some live based on their emotions, others on their rationality. Living by emotions is generally understood as relying on sensory perception, and decisions are primarily determined by personal feelings. They tend to be more affected by their environment and are easily swayed by their emotions. Don't be mistaken, there are many religious people who live this way. For example, their decision to attend worship is influenced by whether their close friends are attending, the weather of the day, who is preaching, and if there are other more exciting options available. Those who live by rationality in their faith, on the other hand, are usually dedicated to seeking effective methods and achieving goals through rational, logical deduction. They analyze every situation before acting. In religious communities, whether interacting with people or communicating with God, they will first consider the pros and cons before taking action. They avoid wasting time and energy on valueless objects and matters, giving the impression of being cautious and savvy. However, faith is a peculiar thing. Sometimes God's logic exists outside what we consider rational thinking. This results in a disparity between what those who live by rationality in their faith hope for and what God indicates. In Luke 9, there's an example where Jesus tells his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem, suffer many things from the elders, chief priests, and scribes, be killed and be raised on the third day. Peter, in his rational thinking, rebukes Jesus, saying, "Lord, this shall never happen to you." See how rational Peter, a Christian, was. He advised Jesus to lay low and not act impulsively. Yet Jesus, knowing the risks, chose to face them head-on, devoid of any rationality. Instead of agreeing with Peter, Jesus rebukes him, saying, "Get behind me, Satan, you are a stumbling block to me, for you are not setting your mind on God's interests, but man's." This doesn't mean that believers should disregard their emotions or rationality in their actions. Instead, it suggests that believers should pursue a transcendent life, a life that doesn't depend on circumstances or feelings, but solely on faith in God. Their hope and reliance are not on the situation, but on the Lord behind the situation. If the situation is like a stormy sea, they are like small fish swimming deep in the sea. If they face a devastating tornado, they are like the calm center of the storm. Though they may be in difficult situations, their hearts are always with God, because God will protect them, as He protects the pupil in one's eye. In times of trouble, God will hide them in His tent, in the secret place of His tabernacle. This is God's promise.